Uh, The meeting will get started at 6 p.m. Go ahead and, Mark, would you like to lead us in a quick invocation before we get started?
Father, we thank you for today, and we thank you for opportunity together as a community, and we thank you for Los Fresnos and what it means to each one of us and the success we've had here many years. From the beginning of Los Fresnos, it's been a great city, and we just thank you for that. Thank you for the folks that serve our community and volunteer their time, and we ask you to bless them tonight as they make decisions for the city's future. We ask this in Christ's name, amen.
At this time, just want to make a quick announcement. Next Monday and Tuesday at 6 p.m., we'll have our budget meeting for those that like to attend. At this time, Jackie, do we have any visitors' remarks? None at this time. Okay, moving on to consent agenda items. Any consent agenda items that you would like for me to put aside so we can review? Any of the council members?
I would like to pull item number 3.
Okay, any other consent agenda items that anybody would like to set aside before we acknowledge these items? Okay, at this time, I move that we acknowledge consent agenda items 1 through 8 with the exception of number 3.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made by myself and one of the council members. At this time, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consent agenda item number 3 is consideration and action to approve the CDC board action on a camera system for birding and butterfly area of the nature park.
Yes, I had some questions with regard to that issue. I don't have a problem with the setting up of the cameras. I think it's for a good cause. I think that it will improve the facilities there. However, my concern is the fact that we have another item here for which we're going to the CDC board for financial assistance. I have always said that that particular park is like any other park that the city of Los Fresnos handles. Okay, it's just another park, as far as I'm concerned. And what that means to me is that we have a responsibility as a city to maintain it and do whatever it needs in order for the services to be improved. Now, I have brought up this issue before, and it really bothers me that the easy way to get money for this type of funding is to go to the CDC board. I have stressed the fact that we need a line item for this particular park in particular. It seems like every time that we go to the CDC is to get more money for this particular park. And I don't know who made the request, but I'm going to guess who it was. It's an individual that's taken this on as a PEEF project, and it's easy to go to the CDC board to get the money instead of going out for grants or looking for other sources of funding for this project. There's money out there, but we have to look for it. However, it seems like it's easier to just go to the CDC board, and I don't think that's right. Okay? The other issue is that the people that are on the CDC board, the majority were appointed by this individual and some of his cronies. Now, the problem that I also have is that I feel like they're being manipulated to some degree. The other issue is that this one individual also makes the recommendations of not funding certain other projects, and then that individual also, I think, manipulates some of the board members. And I don't think that's right at all. It's just that it seems like this isn't right. The other thing that I'm looking at is that we're saying that this is gonna cost $5,000 initially, and then possibly 1,500 more or less to maintain it. Now, it's an approximate figure. I don't think that we should deal with approximate figures. The other issue is who is going to be responsible for paying that 1,500 every year? Or is it just going to be a project that's going to be started and then abandoned? Okay, so there's too many questions being asked. So as far as I'm concerned, until we can come up with the exact figures, I think we should table that item.
Mr. Mylum, do we use CDC monies to maintain the park, or do we use city tax money to maintain? I'm not talking about this specific expenditure here, but I'm talking about on a daily, monthly, yearly basis.
Daily, monthly, year-to-date, it's in the general fund, which is through the city funding. There are certain projects that the CDC funds, this being one of them. It was a project that was initiated by the CDC board for ecotourism. The idea is to put these cameras on a website, and there's a company called EarthCam, and you can go to EarthCam and you can see all kinds of places all over the world that are mostly earth and butterflies, trees, birding. And so the idea is to hook up with them so that we can draw individuals that are here in the valley already for those opportunities and show what we have right here in Los Fresnos. So it's an economic development through ecotourism that they're doing more so than an improvement to the park. So that's why it is the figure of 5,000 is solid. The 1,500 it probably will be half of that, but we added if a camera was damaged during the year, I didn't want the CDC board to be shocked if we don't feel like that it will be that much a year. But I would rather, just like I am with everything else, show a worst case scenario than say something small as far as a figure, and then the CDC board goes, you didn't warn us of that. And so they have committed to fund that on an ongoing basis so that for ecotourism, if we can get some people to come here and stay in our motels and eat in our restaurants, that's what the CDC is about.
I see this as a technological way of advertising our city, and I know he made reference to just another park. I don't think it's just another park. I think there's something special about this park and the things we're doing, and I just wanted to make sure so this is kind of a way for us to market and get people to come and see the park, correct?
Sure.
Thank you.
I don't have a problem with the advertising, because I think that Chamber of Commerce is already advertising a lot, and the park is included. If we table this item, the park's not going anywhere. We may have more birds later on, with migration of birds. Same thing with butterflies. They have to migrate. And none of those things are going anywhere. And I don't think that this is something that all of a sudden there's an emergency that needs to be done. Los Fresnos gets already enough advertising. And what these cameras do, they're just sit there, and if a bird happens to show up, you can see it on a camera. It's like I've seen these things in other parts of the world. It's boring. You just sit there and hope that an elephant will show up. And sometimes it won't. Usually it doesn't. You know, you can wait for hours and waste your time just doing that. And again, I don't have a problem with people that study birds, that like to watch birds. I mean, I took courses in ornithology in college. I don't have a problem with birds and invertebrates, butterflies, whatever. But like I say, I think that as a council, we need to deal with exact figures. This issue has been brought up before with the Confederate Air Show, where we weren't coming up with an exact figure, and now we don't have an exact figure, but it doesn't seem to matter. That's inconsistent as far as I'm concerned. So I think that we need to get exact figures. But if you don't want to listen to me, that's up to you. I just don't want to start a pattern of dealing with numbers that are going to change.
I do have a comment to what he was saying, and reference was made that one person appointed all the CDC members. I have to correct him. He's been a mayor for 16 years, and he should be aware that the city council votes for everybody. And we have the head of the CDC here. It's insulting to be attacking that one person did this. It's not one person. And maybe you can address this. I think it's beneficial to the city.
Yeah, I think there was a term used, cronies. I'm not sure if that was the term that you used, but I think that's an inappropriate term to use. I'm not sure.
I didn't hear you.
Cronies? You said the guy, the person and his cronies? Is that what you said, cronies?
Yes.
Okay, so that term is inappropriate. Go ahead. Would you like to speak on the microphone, please? Thank you.
As some of you know, or all of you know, I'm the president of the CDC. And the question, I think, goes to where did this idea come from? I believe it came from our CDC consultant, which is the person that's handling ecotourism, developing our community and things like that. That's where I understand it came from. And I understand Mr. Narvaez's concerned with expenditures. And it seems like we are spending a lot more money more frequently on the nature park. And that's true. That is true, what you're saying. However, I would like to say we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars at the Whipple Library Park, from the ballpark to games to that surf thing, a skateboard thing. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the compost park, the park across from the high school, the new park. We have put in lots and hundreds of thousands into it. The reason you're seeing the frequency now in this park, it's because it's new and it's being developed. So you're seeing money go into it, and there is a master plan. We're not just going to continue putting money. We're, I believe, reaching an end. The question did come up at the CDC. Hey, how long is this going to go on? So for your information, we believe it was conjunction, our counselor or our CDC consultant with other communities. Now, this park is a piece of a big puzzle. It's not a park standing by itself. It is a piece of a puzzle that starts in Brownsville and then goes on to a trail that's going to come around here. We're talking about maybe some bathrooms here by the rodeo arena, and then it's going to go over to the park. Afterwards, there's some talk of it actually going all the way to Laguna Vista and maybe South Padre Island. So You are seeing, Mr. Novas, you are seeing money going in more frequently, but that's only because that's our newest project. And I hope that kind of answers your question.
The other thing about it is that I've heard rumors, and these are just rumors, that, that riding trail, or what is it, the bike trail and all that, won't necessarily fit with the nature park, and they're considering possibly doing something about that. And this is just a rumor that I think I've heard. But again, those are projects that have been worked on for years. I mean, I remember when we got the money first to get the, we got grant money to start that park in the first place. We've gotten grant money for the hike and bike trail. I mean, we look for funding elsewhere, usually. And that's a good thing, because it doesn't cost the citizens anything. Well, it does. I mean, we all pay taxes anyways, but it doesn't come out of our general fund. So, I mean, this is what I'm concerned about. And it's a good project. Like I say, I was involved with it. I had something to do with starting it up and all of that. But again, I'm just saying that if it's a city park, the city needs to come up with funding to, a light item for that particular park, or for all of them, as far as I'm concerned. And that's just my point. That's all I wanted to bring up. The project itself is a good project, I think. I mean, I like nature. I think that we need these kinds of things, not only in Los Fresnos, but everywhere. So I just wanted to bring up that issue. It's just that I hate to see the CDC money be used in this way by us, in that we give it to you and then we take it away from you again. It just doesn't seem right to me. Okay?
I cannot confirm or deny rumors, so I'm not going to go there. But what I can tell you is that, generally speaking, there's very few projects that the CDC works on alone. If we're going to contribute, more than likely the city is putting in a bigger share, and that's, generally speaking, a general rule that's true.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, is this item for discussion, or is it for?
Right now it's consideration and action, but we're discussing it so that we can make a motion.
That's fine. I just wanted to be sure.
Well, another comment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, to dispel the rumor, Polo, if you take a trip through the nature park, you would see that to undo the bike trail is going to take some kind of big job, because it's already connected to the nature park. The concrete, everything has been poured, and to dispel the rumors, I don't know how anybody's going to go and undo the bike trail at this point. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful park. If you go in the mornings, there's hardly any place to park some mornings. And late in the afternoon, the same thing. The people are coming in, tremendous amount of people are coming in right now. And the birding section, the blinds still aren't ready. There's a lot of things need to be done, but it is a very positive addition to the city of Los Fresnos, and improving the quality of life is what we're doing.
Thank you. At this time, is there a motion for?
I move that. And it's.
Commissioner Lopez has made a motion, and sure, go ahead.
Pertaining to this item, my question is that first year expense of $5,000, is that a one-time expense, or is that a recurring expense every year?
Mark?
It's a one-time expense.
It's a one-time expense to start with. And annual fees and maintenance will be no more than 1,500. So I guess that's kind of like a cap that will be spent on the maintenance.
We included, we have to have internet service and the domain for the internet. We put some money in there in case a camera was destroyed or a couple of cameras were destroyed for some reason or don't work. We have to replace them. The base annual monies will be about $600, but I wanted to, like I said before, I wanted to show that in case we had to replace a camera, no one's shocked that that's a possibility. Do we think that'll happen every year? Absolutely not. They're made to be in the weather, they're made to be outside, so.
So you're just factoring a price, in the worst case scenario, if we
Right,
were to
I mean-
replace, okay.
You're right.
We've got other cameras outside
Mr.
around the
Dida?
city.
I have one
Go ahead,
small
Mr.
recommendation, and that's, right now, we don't have the feeders in place for the birds. We don't have the place to store the seeds, et cetera, for the birds. We don't have a person to come and, put the seeds in the feeders every day. So until we get that in place, we might consider delaying the purchase of this camera. I'm 100% in favor of it. I'll vote in favor of it, but just something to consider, Mark.
Yes, sir. Part of your budget included someone to be able to do that, that you'll approve next Monday and Tuesday. And so starting the first of the year, we can get all this in play and make it happen.
Thank you, Mark.
At this time, we have.
Mark, I wanted to say, I mean, already you're being asked questions about totals and you can't answer, you don't have answers for all the questions. So that's my problem with this issue, that unless we have exact numbers, I don't see how we can be voting on this, but,
What answer am I not giving you exact on?
well, you're saying approximately $1,500 and you're being asked questions and you're saying you don't know.
I did not say that, sir. I said it's $600 for the internet and domain a year. And then if a camera happened to break, well, then it'll be that. Just like your car, you don't know if your car is going to break tomorrow or not. So I put that extra money in there in case, that way no one would be surprised and there would be budget money to be able to handle that. If it's not needed, well, then it won't be used. So there's no, there's not anything in here that's not solid. It is solid.
The other issue is, you say if a camera breaks, I don't see how a camera can break by itself unless somebody breaks it. Is that gonna be insured? So there's
Insured.
gonna be people there at all times of the day and night. If somebody goes there and throws a rock at it, what then?
We will fix it.
Is it insured?
Everything that the city has is insured. Whether we will claim it or not depends on the price and the deduction that we will have to pay for the insurance. If the camera's $600 and our deductible's $1,000, we will not claim it. We will replace it. That's why we put this funding in place, sir.
So the CDC is not gonna pay the insurance, we are.
It's a blanket insurance for the whole city. Adding cameras will not add anything to our insurance premium a year.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
So the motion is, go ahead.
I would, just one more item I would like to add, that my feeling is that the CDC receives money from the city for whatever expenses they have or whatever projects they come across. So indirectly, Mr. Narvaez, if it will appease Mr. Narvaez, the money is still coming from the city.
Yes, sir. If you'll recall, CDC funding is for infrastructure improvements to attract businesses into this community, to fund quality of life projects, and that is, through our history, has been parks have been a big piece that we have funded. The CDC paid for the entire Montes Castro Park, $150,000. And the city paid, I think, a match of $16,000. So we're not doing anything we haven't done in the past.
Mark, one other thing is, one of the big things, the purposes of the CDC is to provide sporting venues for our young people. And if you go to the park, you'll see sometimes 100 kids out there using our park.
Okay, at this time, we
Is there
do
a
have a motion by Commissioner Lopez, and I
I'll second
believe,
that.
seconded by Commissioner Ortiz. And with that said, all those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
And those that oppose do the same as well. So it looks like the only motion opposed was Commissioner Narvaez. The motion carries. Moving on to action item number 1. We have consideration and action to approve a service agreement with the Cameron County Fair and Livestock Show.
Talk to you about that, I'm sorry. And we have discussed it in our budget, and we put that funds in the budget, but it is customary that we ask the folks to come themselves.
Hello, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. So once again, I'm here before you to let you know that Cameron County Fair and Livestock Show survived COVID 2020, and we had a very modified show. We adjusted things. We had absolutely nobody stay overnight as far as animals. So what happened is cattle came in, they showed, they went home. So only the cattle people were here on showgrounds. Lambs came in, they showed, they went home. Goats came in, they showed, they went home. The only exception was the pigs came in and they stayed overnight, but we pretty much cleared everybody out. Our plan of action was for COVID safety that we had a nurse practitioner and her team checking temperatures, signing an affidavit to make sure everybody was not exposed to COVID and that they had no fever, okay? They had their hands stamped and masks were mandatory. And everybody was very good about maintaining distance and, doing everything that they needed to do to keep everybody safe. The show went on. We had pretty much about the same number of cattle, same number of lambs and goats, and I submitted the numbers to y'all in your packet. We did have a decrease in pigs by about 100, but that might have been due to COVID. It might have been just due to kids changing projects or whatever. We did not have the carnival here. We did not have the wonderful rodeo. So that was a big change for us. So we're looking forward to 2022 and having the rodeo and the carnival back and everybody being one big happy family once again. We do have our contingency plan for COVID in place. If COVID still continues to rear its ugly head come February, we will make those adjustments once again, where we will modify the show and, temperature checks and so forth, and make adjustments as needed. So the show continues to support the kids and that we give them jackets and buckles. And the big thing is with this help of this city commission and other sponsors, we do give out scholarships, okay? And we provided $10,000 of scholarships. And in your packet, it has the names of the kids, and we try to distribute it to those that are worthy scholars, okay? Those that are going on to pursue higher education and that have a good GPA and good community service, because we want to promote that in our kids. So we don't differentiate between 4-H and FFA. And I did submit some pictures to y'all, so hopefully y'all can see that in your packet. And we look forward to being back with the rodeo and the carnival in full force in 2022. So we hope you continue to support us.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion for action item number 1 before we open it up to any discussion?
I move that we approve the livestock show, and thank you for your hard work.
I see them start at 8 years old and they're off in college now, some of them, and so it's good to see them grow up and do well in life.
Thank you very much. Motion has been made by Commissioner Herrera. Does anybody second?
I so move.
Motion is seconded by Commissioner Narvaez. At this time, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand, please. Aye. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries with everybody approving action item number 1. Thank you again.
Thank you all, gentlemen. Come by and see us.
Moving on to, motion carries, action item number 2, consideration and action to approve a service agreement with the Los Fresnos Rodeo. Do we have a representative here today to come up?
Yes.
Thank you. And welcome.
Okay, sorry about that. I just, again, want to thank you for the opportunity to allow us to come and seek support from the city of Los Fresnos. I just wanted to point out one thing in the packet that it gave me was the picture of the high school team. So they came up to us and said, we need to have a picture that kind of portrays what Los Fresnos is all about. And the first thing they came to their mind was the rodeo. So that's why I put that picture in there, and it makes us feel real proud that, you know, these young kids thought that, you know, we're a big part of their community and so forth. So anyway, I'll have Mr. Chief Cardosa talk to you about the sponsorship. He is our chairman for sponsorships.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. As Larry said, I'm John Cardosa, former chief of police of the big city of Los Fresnos. It was 32 years ago that most of the ones that are here, we had a dream. We said, what can we do for the city of Los Fresnos and bring more people, bring attraction? And decision, thoughts was said, let's have a rodeo. So we did. 32 years later, guess what? We're still here. And without the support of the city, we probably wouldn't be here, because you need the city, it's the backbone, to give us that support. And of course, the citizens of Los Fresnos, Cameron County Livestock Show, they decided to come with us. That also promoted us. So we're here again to continue our rodeo and ask for your support and contribution and match at least what you all gave us last year, so we can have even a better show this year. If things go sour, we will still continue. Part of those monies that we get, we give scholarships to our students in Cameron County. You know, 32 years ago, we almost looked like the picture in there. We were all young, had no gray hair, but we're still here. And again, we thank the city, our city council, our mayors, our previous city managers, and the police department. I'm very proud of our police department and our fire department. So again, thank you for allowing us time, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much for being here today. With that said, before we go into discussion, is there a motion on action item number 2?
I so move.
Okay, Commissioner Narvaez has made a motion to approve.
I second.
So we got Commissioner Ortiz seconding that. With that said, is there any discussion? Anybody have any questions?
I do have a question. You mentioned scholarships, and I'm very concerned because a few months ago, 2 people came in, requested $10,000 to be given out in scholarships. And the people weren't very candid with us. They didn't tell us that 7,000 out of the 10,000 would be given to people not from Los Fresnos. And for us to give tax money to Harlingen and other places is very disturbing.
Well, it was a decision by the rodeo committee to include all the Cameron County schools. They all come and participate in the Cameron County. Now, we opened up the scholarship applications to everybody within every school district within the Cameron County. Now, we only had 3 applications from Los Fresnos. All 3 got scholarships. If we'd had more from Los Fresnos that applied and sought our help, we would have certainly, you know, considered them, but that's all we had.
Well, to opening it up to the whole, all the area, that's what's concerning. I mean, I can't believe that people in Los Fresnos didn't win $1,000 scholarship. It's, you know, I'm sure you're saying that, you know, that's what happened, but I don't know how the word got out to the schools because there's
Yeah,
so many
each
people
one of the
here.
counselors was notified that the scholarship was available.
I happen to know some of the people that got it in Harlingen are very well off financially, and to see them financially well off get $1,000 and then our kids in Los Fresnos zero, it's disturbing.
Yes, sir. Like I said, everyone that applied from Los Fresnos was awarded a scholarship.
Thank you very much. So since motion has been made, we'll go ahead and vote. All those who say yes, go ahead and raise your hand
Aye.
and say aye. And all those who oppose, do the same. So motion does carry, and at this time, we will move on from action item number 2. Thank you for your time again. Moving on to action item number 3. This is a discussion on annexed areas of services provided. So Mark, on this one, we don't need to take any, just discussion? Is that what this?
Yes, sir. Mr. Lopez had asked for some information on that, so this shows all of the annexations that have occurred, how it was initiated. Most of them are initiated by developer. Some are initiated from us, and then what services are being provided. There's 2 that we're working on. One, West Highway 100 from Walmart to 1575, and then north. Our people have been out visiting those folks in those residences and those businesses. If you'll recall, we went through a long process of getting money from Texas Water Development Board, and we had to do it in 2 phases. One was initial study, and that was done and completed about 4 or 5 years ago. And then we had to then apply for the funds for construction. Water Development Board takes a very long time. They've approved it. We are out advertised for bids for that project. So if we get some good bids by the end of the month, hopefully we can approve that contract in October. There could be a delay with that because Water Development Board does have to approve the bids because they're funding it. And so if it might take a little bit more time for them to approve those bids, but that's in the process and will be done here shortly. The only other one is on Whipple Road. There's four residents that we need to add to the system. The rest of them all have either city services or in Olmito water supplies, or East Rio Hondo, either their CCN for water or sewer.
Any questions or?
Just a couple of comments. The reason why I asked Mr. Milan to put this on was, my concern was on if a developer is asking to be annexed, they know the rules and they know what they're getting themselves into as far as water and sewer and taxes and stuff like that. But when a city annexes a subdivision or a road, in the case of, I forgot the name of that.
1575 or Passer?
No, the one that belongs to, the one that were, yes, the Escalante Road. Now, they were annexed. They didn't have a choice. And my concern there was that if we're limiting to a one-time thing, well, they didn't have a choice coming in. So when we annex a portion of this, a subdivision or a community, or in this case, those people along that road, we annex them, so we take the good with the ugly. The good is we get their taxes. The ugly is we inherited that road. So we have to fix that road. It doesn't have to be a gutter and sidewalk type road, where it's all nice and pretty, but a functional road that they can use. And for us to limit, I think that's a little bit unfair in the sense that we asked for it, we got it, so now we have to deal with it.
Andy, I think that one of the problems is that's private property.
When they annexed the area.
I agree with you, but, you know, that's still a problem.
Yeah, and Mark's working through it, and you know, my thing is that we should the city should come up with a functional road that's not Class A, but functional.
I might add that I am glad that you feel that way.
Since you own a lot.
I don't have any, it's not improved property, but just in case.
Mark, do you want to have anything to say in regards to what he just mentioned?
Just that, yeah, I think you do have to consider all angles when you're annexing property. That particular one, being that it was it is private property, it gets very detailed and legal. Let me give you a comparison. Is we also annexed there where Longhorn Lane is, and if you'll recall that it was a county road. So when we annexed, it became a city road, but it had all the right of way, and it was already dedicated, and so we immediately went in there and we didn't do curb and gutter like you said, because I don't think every street needs to be curb or gutter or should. So we left it the way it is and retopped it. It's a cul-de-sac street. And so we didn't need to keep the standards that I'll give you an example like Mesquite or Canal, where we have schools going in and out. So it can be a little bit different type of road, like Mr. Lopez was saying. The hang up with Escalante Road is that is actually someone else's property, and a bunch of people's property. I have, as we mentioned last meeting, I've got a engineer and a surveyor working to determine how much of it is the existing road on different people's property and whose property is it on. School is also part of that on the whatever, when you're driving down at the right side. I don't know east or west, but so once they find that, then we can try to make some decision. We'll come back and say, hey, how do we want to handle this? I would imagine that those people that own it will dedicate that over for a right of way, and we can begin that process. Because legally they can't forbid you from driving it anyway, because it's what they call a prescriptive easement now, once it's been used for year after year after year. So we'll continue that process and hopefully be able to have a resolution on that. As far as the sewer for out 100 along that Highway 100 and then up to there with this funding, hopefully we got a project going before the end of the year, and we'll get that done and we'll be finished.
Thank you. I think we talked a little bit more about that here coming up on one of the agenda items or the action items.
Yes, sir.
And on this one, there's no motion that we need to make. Just wanted to bring up a discussion.
Just so everybody knows.
Okay, with that said, I'll move on to action item number 4. Nobody else has any other further comments or discussion. Consideration and action to approve projects for funding with the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. Now, these, Mark, are the funds that we were discussing, correct?
Yes, sir. I'll start and kind of give a summary. We have already received half of those funds, and it's listed there in your packet. It's $970,949.24. So we can begin. When I say begin spending, we've got to determine a project, and then we got to send it to them and get it approved. So it's not like just going out and getting the work done. It has to be approved by the state and the federal government. there's a lot of different projects, and I wanted to start with Mr. Daniels with EMS. The county is looking at many different things. I did not include it on here just because, well, I'll tell you a reason why I didn't include it. We don't know a number, but they would like to do some kind of regional, maybe get with rodeo and make some kind of different type of facility than what's there and spend some of their money. But they'll also want us to spend some of ours, and the school spend some of theirs, and the rodeo spend some of theirs. And I wanted to start there to tell you that that's on the table too. I think that we have an
Around and why I'm here looking for funds, but right now there's a shortage on paramedics. There are some staffing companies, just like the nurses, the staffing companies are hiring medics. They're paying $47 an hour, up to $75 an hour for medics to work 60, 70 hours a week. So there's a shortage on paramedics right now. There are no medics in the pipeline being trained, being taught at schools right now in Cameron County. It used to be TSTC would teach them. It's not happening right now. So there's a shortage of medics. So that means we're paying a lot of overtime to keep our trucks covered. We're running 2 trucks 24/7. Our payroll alone over the last year is $685,000 just for payroll. We have historically tried to make our ambulances last 5 or 6 years. I've got a 2015, a 2016, and a 2017 ambulance right now. The 2015 being the oldest, it's got the most miles. It's starting to cost us a lot of money to repair. The goal was to replace one every 3 to 5 years. Well, because of corona response and decontaminating those units, which means spraying them down in the back with chemicals, spraying the inside with chemicals, they've deteriorated. Ambulances that should have lasted 5 or 6 years are now needing to be replaced. So I've got 2 that have to be replaced right now. The other one will have to be replaced next year. 26% of the people we've transported in the last 18 months have no insurance. We don't ask them when we transport if they have insurance or not. We're a community-based and truly a nonprofit ambulance service. Nobody makes money at the EMS service other than our salaries. We don't get paid bonuses. So we treat everybody the same. Doesn't matter if they have insurance or not. We have a billing company that does our billing. We don't concern ourselves with that, even though we need to be fiscally responsible. And we have operated in the black since we took over EMS in 2003. But this last year has put a drain on us. Expenses are up, revenues are down, overtime's up. So, you know, we're with this coronavirus funds that the state has given out, because we're a 501c3 nonprofit, we're not eligible for any of that money as our own entity. The only way we can get funding is to approach the city and see if they could assist us with some of that. So I did submit some ideas to Mr. Milam. Priority number 1 is probably to help us remount an ambulance. We do have a new ambulance that we have ordered that'll be delivered the first week of October. Our ambulances cost $200,000. We buy medium duty ambulances because we have long transports. We're in a rural area. All of our units are 4-wheel drive. But the reason we buy medium duty ambulances, the maintenance costs are a lot less on them. When we used to have the E450s and E350 ambulances, we were putting brakes on them every 2 months. The oldest unit I have right now, I've put brakes on it twice in 5 years. So it pays for itself by having the medium duty ambulances. So we're just trying to approach the city because we know everybody's looking for money. You know, I'm the end of the line, I think, on this today, but you know, we are a nonprofit EMS. We want to do what's best for the city. We did have to go out and borrow some money to buy this new ambulance, but we have to have it. The last thing you want is an ambulance breakdown with your family member or somebody we know in the back of the unit. So we've got to replace units. So we borrowed some money to get this new ambulance that's coming in, and we'll pay it off as soon as we can. But so one of the ideas was get the city to help us remount an ambulance. The ambulance I'm replacing, we can save $50,000 by having it remounted. They'll refurbish the box and put it on a new cabin chassis. Takes 3 to 4 months to get it done if they can get a cabin chassis. You know, I did approach the county because with all the funding that was out there, our EMS, we couldn't pay bonuses to our medics. Last year they were trying to pass that HEROES Act and had funding in it for bonuses for medics. We couldn't do it. We're a nonprofit. We're not affiliated with the city per se.
Steck, Harlingen EMS, Brownsville, Padre Island, they all paid their medics bonuses. We couldn't do it. You know, we have to pay our bills and keep ourselves operating in the black. So I'm trying to hit the county up and looking at I've talked to Senator Lucio, Filemon Vela, trying to find funding for the nonprofits. There's 2 nonprofits in Cameron County. Steck, which is Harlingen EMS, and Los Fresnos EMS. The others are all municipal owned, so, you know, they paid their bonuses. The county got $83 million on their stimulus package, and they paid every employee they had $3,500 bonus and up or down. It went both ways, but most employees got $3,500, so I think our medics deserve something. I'm not asking the city to fund that bonus. I'm looking for funding for that, but we do have some expenses that it's going to be hard for us to, you know, buy new ambulances like we did before. We have debt on that building over there. Fire department borrowed the money to pay the building. EMS is paying their portion of it. So one of the other options was to help us pay that debt down. But the loan is under the fire department's name. So if you have any questions, you ask them now. You know, come see me anytime at my office. I'd certainly like to visit with you.
Any questions for Mr.
Yes, sir.
Daniels?
Mr. Daniels, I just wanted to ask a quick question. What's your service area?
We have 140 square miles. We go all the way to the expressway on 100. We go all the way to the Port Isabel city limits. We go all the way to FM 106, and we go south on Brownsville to Brownsville city limits on 1847. But it's 140 square miles. 45% of our calls are actually in the city of Los Fresnos. So we've had 2,854 calls since January 1 of last year. 45% of them are in the city.
Thank you. Sounds like, I mean, you all do a great job, and it's amazing the amount of area that you all cover, and I mean, I see you guys everywhere,
Appreciate
which
that.
is good, so thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else
Go
have any
ahead,
questions?
Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
He's got a
I
question.
do have to make a comment. I had a son that had a near-death seizure, and we called the ambulance, and I just can't thank Gene enough, and Gene even came to help out, and you don't realize how important that ambulance is until one of your kids' life is at stake. And, you know, my wife and I can never thank Gene and his staff enough.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And thank you very much. You know, being in an ambulance, I think that's extremely important. And I know that we're limited on the funds that we have, and there's just so many priorities. So I know that Mark will work on a good plan for us to get everybody taken care of at the end of the day. So I can assure that that's what Mark will work on. Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it. And
Daniels.
like I said, if you want to come visit me and, you know, talk anytime, I'm pretty much there every day. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your time again.
Thank you, Jay.
Now, Mark, with that said, as important as that is, I know that we have some other topics to cover.
Right, I'll continue on, you know, those as we can submit to see if the possible funding through that. We can also look at other avenues within our budget, like we do on a normal basis. Maybe that's something we could do. If you'll recall, I'm very conservative in budgeting, and so about halfway through the year, we usually see some additional funds. Maybe we can go to that at that time, but you can also decide however you want. The next four, I want to go over these as quickly as I can. Is a premium pay just like the county did. We did it a tier, and we did the folks that are make less, they get more, like the county did, 3,500 to down to 2,500. In my notes, you can see that is not my recommendation. I think it's the only right to submit it for you to see things and to see what other cities are doing, so that when people say, well, the county did it, well, Harlingen did it, well, why didn't you do it? Well, Mark didn't even bring it up. Well, I'm bringing it up, but that's not my recommendation. And the reason why it's not my recommendation is because I think we need to stick with infrastructure. And I'll go into that. The next one is water ground storage tank replacement. That's something that has to be done. Texas Commission on Environmental Quality looks at each year. We've got 300,000 gallon water tower. It's in good shape. Maintenance is good on it. We've got a 78,000 gallon ground storage tank. This one is 129,000, I think it is, or 125,000 gallon ground storage tank is very, very old. And so they just need to be replaced from time to time. So that's a big one that needs on there. The next three are drainage. Several of you have mentioned drainage on Resaca Escondida. That's the dead Resaca that fronts the nature park and what I call Falcon Lake. It's all connected. There is no true drain for that. What we do in big times of flooding, we put a pump, which you just funded 2 additional, so we have 3. So we don't have to borrow, we don't have to go rent. But we put those and pump that off. And so I say that because is that ideal situation? No, but it depends on your priorities. And for 2 reasons, I don't think that's a priority. Number one is because we have a way to do it as it stops raining, and we can pump it off. And I have some other funding that I'll tell you about. Number 2 on drainage is Whipple Road, and that's the bar ditches around there. You had authorized Hanson Engineering to do some studies there, and they did. And they say that it'll be about a little over $100,000 for that. Again, we need to do that at some point. But if you'll recall, TxDOT is funded half an associates to come up with a plan to widen Whipple Road. And so my vision is that's done along with that project. They're looking at how to put a road in there when you have so many utilities, and really our part, when I say our part, the city limits, which is from 1847 to where the apartments are, most of that area has 80-foot right of way. There's a few places that only have 60. Once you get to the apartments and on to 1575, it's in the county and it's only 60-foot right of way. There's this 36-inch raw water line that goes to Laguna Madre in that right of way. There's electrical in that right of way. There's East Rio Hondo water supply in that right of way. Fortunately, a lot of ours is outside because we put them in the easement way years ago, over the last 10 years. So I'm telling you that because is it needed? Yes, we need to do that, but that's a funding that TxDOT's doing through Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority, and we need to continue that process and see where that takes us as far as funding and have that drainage as part of that project. The next one is Viato Improvements. As you know, we had flooding back in 2018 when this crossing here failed, and we believe that when it failed, that crossing, it just backed up, and so that's why we got water into those homes where it hadn't been before. Fortunately, now they've cleaned that, and it's just an open ditch. They haven't put the crossing back in, which is very, very good. So we think that we're past the big part. It doesn't mean that we don't need to do more work. Bayview Irrigation District is working on a project, as you know, that we're partnering with them to put the irrigation canal underground. Once they do that, we have better access to that ditch that drains that to be able to maintain it and clean it. Right now, it's very difficult because we have to access it through private property. They get that project done, we can now access that through that property, and we have the agreements with the irrigation district for us to do that. And so that's why I say hold off on those. The other piece, and the big piece, is Water Development Board. They have put us on a list. We will know by November for different funding. We've tried to fund all different ways. And so we have those three projects, as well as a drainage study for our entire city where it maps out all of those drainage pipes that we own, all those drainage pipes that TxDOT owns, all those drainage pipes that Irrigation District 6 owns, even though we're in their irrigation business now, not drainage, but they do have some that drain. Cameron County Drainage District 1. So all those will be mapped as part of this study. We think we'll get the funding. We won't know for sure until November. They have asked us to submit an intent to apply. They usually don't ask that unless they know that they have the funding to award it. And what it would be is a $418,000 grant. In other words, free money, and then a $1,255,000 0% interest loan. You can't beat 0%. What it means is we just pay, we set it up and we pay so much a year and there's no interest. So it's just like we can get the project done now and pay it off, and it doesn't cost the city extra money. We can do it in today's terms, cheaper prices than 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So that in mind, that's why drainage, I say, is it important? Absolutely. Don't misinterpret. But this is the funding that we need to utilize for that. If come November we can't, when the second round comes in there, well, then we can reconsider this. Comes to our next one, which is sewer on Whipple Extension. That is the 4 homes on the north side of Whipple Road that we've annexed. We need to provide sewer for them. So I think that is a high priority, just like the water tank. As you can see, that is $250,000. That's just the engineer's estimate. Hanson is always good about those estimates. They usually come in below that, so that's a positive. The next thing is, well, let me jump down to where you see sewer East 10th Street and sewer East 5th Street. The reason why I'm saying that is because we have had problems with sewer backups in those 2 areas. And I wanted to go there before I go to the ones above them for a reason. We ask our engineers to find a way to take that sewage to our sewer plant in a different way. And so they came up with that plan. And so East 5th Street would be on a line that's runs down this easement on the west side of this drainage ditch. It takes it a whole different direction, so it wouldn't back up the way it is. East 10th Street, we would add a lift station and we would move, we would pump that to a lift station on South Arroyo, there by Los Fresnos Construction. From there, it goes to our sewer plant. So it would remove that sewage load from what we call the Alamo Lift Station, which takes almost everything in our city through Alamo Lift Station. And so both of those are 2 good fixes, and there's nothing wrong with those fixes. But I want to go on is, why is that the problem? Whenever the system was built out, they didn't have those problems. The reason why we have those problems is here. Yes, sir.
And so is the house on 10th Street, right, that we talked about, the residence? Okay.
Okay, I wanted to color one day, so I'll try to make some sense out of this for you. We had the study that was part of the study that we had to do with Water Development Board in order to get the funding to fund sewer on East Highway 100. part of the delay, it was doing all that study. Part of that study, we cameraed every sewer line in the city. And we cameraed to see if there's any breaks, any problems with them. What we got is a degree of problems, 1 being the worst, 2, 3, 4, and 5 being, hey, there's a little bit of problem, but not great problems. So what you have, the reason why the only time this happens is when it rains is because we get infiltration into our sewer system. And that happens through manholes. The manholes were built many years ago, and most of those old ones are brick. Through time, those bricks have probably eaten away to nothing. Some have parts of it. Some, I would bet there's some that just have the ground holding it. In addition to that, the pipes through time, there's some of those pipes are clay pipes. That was all that was used back in the beginning days of the city. They don't use that anymore. The clay pipes are real brittle, and so there will be breaks and cracks into those. So the camera system revealed that. And so part of the sewer project that is taking sewer to East 100 all the way to 1575 and up by Escalante Road funds that. It also is going to fund replacing 38 manholes. And if you'll look on your paper where the blue dots are, you see them? They're just kind of all over the place. They're concentrated right in here. If you'll look here, they're concentrated. Guess where that area is? That's the east side of town, where East 5th is a problem and East 10th is a problem. And so what happens is as we get water in our water table and in the streets, it goes in those manholes and infiltrates through those lines. It's got to go to the lowest point. Guess where the lowest point in our system is? It's on East 5th and East 10th. And so we're going to fix those with those other 2 projects. Guess what's going to happen? Those 2 are going to be fine. We won't hear from Chewy no more. We won't hear from Mr. Rodriguez on East 10th Street. Guess what we're going to hear from? Somebody else, because there's going to be another new low spot in our sewer system. And so when infiltration comes and there's so much, it's got to go somewhere. And so we will make those people happy, but we won't fix our problem. So I'm saying is, let's try to fix the problem. A couple things we're doing. We got with the engineer, Carlos got with the engineer, and we did a study on the Alamo lift station. There's 2 20 horsepower motors. And Carlos brilliantly came up with the idea that can we put 25s or 30s there, because it won't change the electrical load. And so we got the engineers to look, and 30 would work, but so would 25. And 30 doesn't give you on the curve, as an engineer would do, much more than a 25 horsepower would do. So we already have those 2 25 horsepower pumps, submersible pumps for Alamo lift station ordered. They'll be in any time, and what they're going to do is provide 500 gallons a minute each pumping power more to our sewer plant than is there now. So just think of a flood and so much water, and we're going to be able to pump 1,000 more than what we were the day before when we get those installed. Pretty phenomenal step in the right direction, so that East 5th Street doesn't back up and East 10th Street doesn't back up. That's already funded. It was in we put it as part of our budget, and so that's already happening. The second piece is those 38 blue dots. Those are manholes that will be fixed with the Texas Water Development Board funding that we already have. You've already approved it. We're already ready to go. It's the one that we're going to accept bids at the end of the month, get Water Development, approve them, and then they'll start the sewer service to west, and also start on these manholes. In addition, if you'll look to where there's blue lines, there's several blue lines in there, not as many as the other colors, but Carlos identified the worst of the worst. And part of those Texas Water Development Board monies is to replace those lines that are blue. And so you can see there's some on the northwest side of town, a little bit there behind what I call the old city hall. What is it, Carlos? By Subway? That there's a line there that's going to be replaced. You see blue? And then there's one on the east side, actually two on the east side, that also will help East 5th Street and East 10th Street. So that's already done. That's already, we don't have to worry about that. I'm just telling you that so that you know the many steps that we're taking. So back to your list, sewer line replacement 1s and 2s, those were identified by the camera of being the worst of the worst. And so those are color-coded green. And you can see them, they're mainly in the east part, which is where East 10th Street and East 5th Street. They're also Old Port Road, 2480, where Ebony Street is, Pecan Street, and can't see the other one, Pine Street. All of that, guess where it flows? It flows east, it flows south into the east side of town and into Alamo Lift Station. So all of that is part of what we get water infiltration in our system. There's a few others to the other parts, but mainly it's in that side. So I'm recommending that we fund that as well, because we're going to get the manholes fixed. We're going to get some of the worst lines fixed. And now we get all of the 1s and 2s that they identified as being the worst pipes in our system. They would be replaced. And so that's that. 3s, you can see the yellow. There's we don't have the funding for it. And then
Excuse me, Mark.
Yes, sir.
On the manholes, okay, those will be replaced, as you say, right? With the newer.
the 38 of them,
Okay.
yes.
Now, what about the clay pipes? Is that gonna, they're leaking and all that, is that gonna be affected in any way? Is it gonna affect the drainage in any way? Because if we're gonna leave those in there,
I
or are
didn't
they
hear
gonna
quite
be
hear.
changed as well? The clay drain pipes.
What I'm recommending is the green ones will be replaced, and that's the worst of the worst.
Only those?
Yes, sir. Will that,
The others are still okay?
well, no,
They're just not priority.
there's a
You got different
priority that
levels.
they put on them when they did the camera. And as far as what's leaking the worst and which ones are the worst problems. And so they identified them as 1 being the worst, 2nd, not as bad as 1, but not as bad as 3, 4, and 5. And then 3 the same way. And 5, it needs to be on your radar, but it's not a big issue today. And so what this would do is get our 1s and 2s, which are the most critical ones, out of the way. And so, did I answer your question?
That's fine, thank you, Mark.
So if you go to your page, on packet page 92, and this is what I'm proposing and why I am, is approval of the water ground storage tank, the sewer from Whipple Road, where we annex for those places, and then sewer line replacement of all of the 1s and 2s. You know what we've already done with the pumps to pump more water. Even if it's still infiltrating, we'll be able to pump 1,000 gallons more a minute. That's a lot. We fixed the manholes. We fixed some lines with that other funds, and then we fix all of the ones and twos, I'm thinking that East Fifth Street and East 10th Street problems will go away. I can't guarantee that,
Okay,
so
that
that's,
makes- yeah.
that's one, I want you to know that. I think it will go away because used to, they didn't have those problems. That was a problem that occurred as these old lines started needing replacement. But I'm suggesting to do that, and that way we get those done in year one. If something happens, we have another big rain and all those are replaced and we still have a problem, well then we can fund it in year two or through our regular budget and just say, no, we can't wait anymore. We tried to do and fix our system. What I hate to do is if we go and approve East Fifth Street, East 10th Street, that's $425,000 that will fix what's happening there, but it won't fix the problem.
It's like a Band-Aid, it'll just be a
Right, I want to
temporary-
fix the problem. And so if we take $425,000 out of the equation, I can't get those number ones and number twos that are real bad, the clay lines, like Polo said, I can't get those. We don't have the funds to do that.
Is there any alternative measures in case that we do go this route and the home on Fifth and 10th Street still have that recurring issue, or is there
I
a
think
solution for that?
If we've done this and it's still a problem, then we go back to this plan and we make those two happen that's designed with the engineer
Okay,
and just make that happen if we get to there.
so there's a high probability by fixing the entire problem that that's gonna go away.
It'll go away. And what will be good about it is if we spend the other and fix East Fifth with that one and East 10th with this other Band-Aid, we are gonna have another low spot in the system. And then those two places won't be calling you, but one or two or three more places where it's the lowest part of the system will start showing a problem. And that's what I don't want. I don't want those calls.
Now, let's say that we get this voted on and approved, it's hurricane season, is this something that's gonna be worked on pretty quick, or is this gonna take some months to get going before we can see any improvements on those areas?
The engineering's done, just has to be pulled, the ones and twos just pulled out and submitted, and then get a bids. Of course, we'd still have to go through the approval process with FEMA and the federal government. They have to approve these funds, but it is an approvable deal. So very quickly, but sometime very quickly to private businesses, you know, hey, we can start in the next 3 or 4 weeks. No, it'll be 2 or 3, 4 months, but yet get them resolved.
Okay, and I asked that because I know that one of the residents reached out to me right before the hurricane came, and after seeing the pictures of what his front yard looked like, I don't want them to go through that anymore, so I'm trying to think if there's a way that we can get it done expeditedly.
I'm with you.
Thank you.
It hurts my belly to see that. It really does, but I just think this is the most
It's most, it's where our money will go and
Right.
fix a whole,
The best-
everybody, because
the
we don't
best
want them
use
to
of
be
the
fine and then
funds.
somebody else have the same issue. Okay, so at this time, is there any questions or comments or any motions?
and we're not committing anything in year 2 because we will revisit to see where we are then,
So this is just to take the next step, it's,
the year 1.
do I get a motion for, action item?
Yes, sir, those 3 projects, and of course, those are estimates.
I move that we go with Mr. Mylan's recommendation on the 3 projects, the water ground storage tank, the sewer on Whipple Extension, and sewer line replacement 1s and 2s.
Second.
So I have motions made at this time by Commissioner Lopez and second by Commissioner Herrera. With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose, do the same as well. All commissioners have voted to approve this. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 5. Okay, there we go. Consideration and action to increase dumpster garbage rates and update the fee schedule with approved fees. Mark, wasn't it last year that this thing stayed the same or something like that?
Yes, sir. If you recall in my notes, the residential rates stayed the same, and they had, our original agreement has it capped at 4% for the rate increase, but they agreed to leave the residential rates the same and cap the commercial at 2%. And so that's what this is reflecting. The commercial rates, all we do is for a service fee of $20 is put that on there. When you get into the larger ones, if you can see on page 96, at 95, you could see that if we're not careful, we'll be paying more for the service than what the residents are, the commercial ones are paying. This will not affect any residential cart. That still stays the same, like you have wanted it to be. So I think it's a win-win and just a small increase instead of a 4% increase.
Before we go into discussion, would anybody like to make a motion on action item number 5?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, motion have been made by Commissioner Herrera and second by Commissioner Lopez. At this time, is there any discussion in regards to this action item? So all those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Action item number 5 has been approved. Action item number 6, consideration and action on a resolution 6-2021 to nominate a person for position 9 on the Cameron Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Nominated him last year.
Mark, any comments in regards to this action item?
No, sir, not really.
So I guess we're going to approve it. Ben Ricardo Morado.
So at this, do I get a motion at this time?
I so move that we nominate Ricardo Morado.
I'll second.
So motion has been made by Commissioner Lopez and seconded by Commissioner Narvaez. At this time, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand, please.
Aye.
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 No.
Okay, all those who oppose do the same.
No.
Commissioner Ortiz, did you? Aye. Aye, okay. So at this time, motion carries. Only one commissioner has voted against this, Commissioner Herrera. Motion carries. Thank you. This is number 6, or no, number 7. Consideration and action to reappoint or appoint of members to the Los Fresnos Housing Authority. I believe of the 3 individuals, one of them is not going to, and that's me, Mr. Abrigo will not be serving, and so it looks like we need to look for one, and we have 2 already on the board. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes, you can reappoint those 2 that are willing to serve, or you can also appoint someone new.
So do I get a motion on approving the 2 that are already on there?
I so move.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Herrera
Second.
and been seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. So motion does carry to, for David Garza and Linda Ramirez.
Does that mean we need to,
We need to
at the
find-
next meeting, come up with
Come
one?
up with a third person. So moving on to action item number 8, consideration and action to appoint or reappoint members to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And do I get is there a motion to be made? Or?
I move that the individuals who are willing to continue serving be allowed to continue or be reappointed.
I second.
So motion has been made by Commissioner Narvaez and Commissioner Lopez. Any discussion further in regards to this? The motion was to, for the existing members that are serving to continue to be, in their roles. Henry B. Bond and Larry Mead. And is there Javier Rodriguez as well? So with that said, all those in favor, raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. So motion does carry. Consideration and action to reappoint or appoint members to the Park Advisory Board. This particular physician had an individual that no longer resides in Los Fresnos, Jerry Martinez. His term was set to expire September 30th, 2022. It looks like we have Adam Cruz and Robert Garza. And the nomination would be to reappoint them and possibly look for a third person. Is that correct, Mark? Do I get a motion?
So moved that we nominate Adan Cruz and Robert Garza, and then look for a third one at the next meeting.
I second.
Okay, so motion has been made by Commissioner Lopez and seconded by Commissioner Narvaez. All those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. At this time, acknowledgement of city managers' reports. Is there a motion for this?
Do we still have COVID issues over there at Henderson?
Good question. Mr. Peterson said that their crew will be there tomorrow and they will stay on the job until they're finished. So, we're gonna go, right? Gordon and I will go check on it.
Is there any other discussions or?
Because it's been told for quite a few Mondays now, but he told me that today.
Well, we kind of walked into that with all the concerns and changes and everything else like that, so you take the good with the bad, so.
Yes, sir. It's just time. It's time to be done.
Any updates on the road, on the state with the repair of everything still on track and,
Yeah,
you know if they're
say-
gonna pave that part that's in front of the ATM? Are they gonna open that up?
No, they can't open it up until they finish the other because of the difference in the height of the pavement. If you'll recall, they're taking that street that's way through the years have gotten a big crown in the middle. It's way down, and so there's a huge level, and so they're going to do the one in front of Circle K, and then they can open that up from there.
All right, do I get a motion for acknowledging of city managers' reports?
Any word on the hiking bike trail?
Same there.
Same, still find workers there or no?
They're
It
should be
was-
laying concrete the end of this week for the borders, and then it should only take a couple weeks to get from the nature park to 100 done.
Mark, in the hike and bike trail, how's that going?
That's what I just told them. They're going to do the curb starting the end of this week, and should take them a week or so to finish the curb all of this way and then pave it. So in a couple weeks, they should be done to 100, and then they'll start on this section.
Thank you.
I move that we accept the city manager's report as written.
I'll second.
So motion of acknowledgement has been made by Commissioner Lopez and seconded by Commissioner Narvaez. All those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. City manager's reports have been acknowledged. Next, acknowledgement of department head reports. Is there a motion in regards to the acknowledgement of the department head reports?
I so move.
Second.
So motion has been made by Commissioner Narvaez and seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. And motion does carry. At this time, it's 7:32 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you and have a good evening.